Tenamore, are we live? Tenamore, sisters and brothers, give thanks and praises. This is the Alkebu-Lan Academy of Excellence online African History Month, Black History Month program. Yes, this evening we're going to be hearing from our youngsters, Africa Teen Talk. And sorry for the delay. We just had a few technical problems and some of our young people are not here as yet, but they will be joining us shortly. So before we go ahead in our main discussion, I'd just like to say that this has been a month of discussions pertaining to our history. We, as the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement, support the Black History Month UK October celebration because there's been issues around that. And we celebrate Black History Month in the US and the Caribbean and other parts of the world, which operates in February. And so, sisters and brothers, we don't see as a problem or a dichotomy or anything like that. We see it as just part of the growth and development. African history was given to us by African people, and we celebrate them, their legacy. Baba Carter Woodson in 1926, and in 1987 in the UK, African Jubilee year, Achebo Adaye Sebo gave us Black History Month here. So we give thanks and praises for that. We give thanks and praises also for all the African organizations that are honoring this very important cycle of the African world life paradigm, who have organized a number of Black History Month programs, some of them for adults, some for children. We know organizing for our people is hard work, but it's work that is satisfying because we are working towards our liberation. So we give thanks and praises for that. We've got some beautiful young people on the chat this evening, should I say. Your flyer may have said 6 till 8, but it is, 6 till 9. You may have had some information saying 6 to 9, but it's 6 till 8. So it's not 3 hours, it's only 2 hours. And at some stage, we will be opening to the young people for the gathering to join us in discussion, ask some questions and so forth. So we give thanks and praises for that as well. So let me first introduce our oldest panel member. One's disappeared at the moment. Our oldest panel member, young sister Matertat. Just tell us your name, your age, what you're doing, and so forth. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, my name is Matertat. I'm 18. I'm currently in first year of uni, and I'm studying social sciences. So yeah.
Sorry, go ahead now, please.
Oh
no, not you. Sorry, Munyaradzi. Munyaradzi, would you like to?
Tenamore, I'm 14 years old. I'm in the 10th year. Oh,
sorry. Raise your voice a bit. We find it difficult to hear. Raise your voice, please.
I'm 14 years old. I'm in year 10, and I'm studying philosophy. The main subjects I'm studying: philosophy, photography, history, and geography.
Give thanks for that. Tenamrai. Prince Tai.
Tandamwari, my name is Tai, and I'm 40. I'm in year 10, and the main subjects that I'm studying are economics, computer science, media, and sociology.
Give thanks for that. Tandamwari. So welcome to Africa Teen Talk. Princess Kasensa was with us, but for some reason she did say she's having some problems with her internet. So I'm not sure if that is why she's not here at the moment.
Yeah.
Because
that her internet is bad.
It is bad. Yeah. Okay. So, what you can do her best, just keep trying to get in. Somebody will bring her in at some stage. If she's trying to get in and she can't, just let us know. I'm just gonna start with Tenamore. Munye Raji's disappeared again. All right, Tenamore. Regai mazui andina taura nepfungwa zimumayo mangus and ziko nemimwari. May the words of our mouths and meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Mwari, O Jah of our creation. Tendai Mwari. It's always nice to hear from our young people. It's always good to hear what their views are, what their position is on things that are affecting them, just as it's affecting us as adults. Even though it's our responsibility primarily to deal with the things that are affecting them, but they have a voice, they have thoughts, they have ideas about our people, our culture, how to move forward. Whatever that is, we give thanks and praises for their views and thoughts. I'm just going to ask those that have joined us online, we are going to open up to you. So if you want to make any comments that are in the please make it in the chat. At some stage, we will either ask them as we're having the discussion, or we'll ask them once we open for everybody to make contributions. So we may use your comments or your questions in the discussion, but we see. But if you want to make them, please just enter the chat. Just squiggle your. I'm not assuming, because I'm not assuming that everybody knows what to do. Squiggle your cursor on your page, and at the bottom you'll see stop. You got to see mute, stop cam. Probably you got share screen. Probably mine's slightly different. You probably have participants, or you have more. You might have more on it. If you got more, enter your more, and enter your more, and you will be able to see the word chat. Yeah. So we just join the chat like that. Okay. Feel free, young people, to interject. You might have to disturb each other in the conversation. I don't mind if you want to take your mic off while somebody's speaking, you want to say something. So we don't have to be so formal, because it's a discussion. You don't have to be so formal that you have to wait till the person finish their full stop. If you want to interject, you can, and you can give way like you would in any normal conversation. So let's keep it flowing. Tendai Mwari. Okay, let me right, our first area of discussion this evening, I think it's a very, very important area, because it's one that has been on the media, all over the media actually. The Black Lives Matter movement. We know that the Black Lives Matter movement kicked off through the death of George Floyd, sorry. And we also know that since that unfortunate and tragic incident, there has been many marches, there's been many protests. Some people have joined the organization. Some people have used the words like wearing t-shirts, Black Lives Matter has it as their strap line, hashtags, things like that. And it has also been a unifying force for many Africans all over the African world. So I just like to get a feel. I mean, you're young people. Some of you may or may not have been on a march. Can I just ask you, did any of you attend any of the marches or the protests for the Black Lives Matter during the summer? Did any of you, or have any of you attended any of the protests or the marches?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
July.
Have you got you turned it off? All right. You did. Okay. So Princess Maturtat, could you tell me, why did you attend, and what did you attend and why?
I attended because Black Lives Matter has never been a big movement like that in the UK, so I wanted to see what it would be like for myself. What it was like. It was very unified. Like, it felt very like unified, like everyone was there for one cause. and etc. etc. It was very informative as well. Yeah, I actually enjoyed myself. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, Tenamori. I know my my other guests this evening are slightly younger. Did any of you attend, or did any of you feel that, oh, I want to attend? Any of you can go first. Muniraji, Tai?
I would say that I didn't personally attend, but I know that some of my relatives
Okay.
did.
Did you feel that you wanted to attend?
Not exactly. I felt like it's definitely something that's important, but just in my own opinion, I think that there are other things that we can do. I'm not exactly sure what at the moment, but I know that there are other things that we can do as Black people that will grab attention and get things done faster. I'm not exactly sure at the moment what, but I do agree with the marches as well, because some people believe that that is a good way to get people's attention, and yeah, that's actually quite good.
Okay, give thanks for that. Muniraji.
I partially agree with what Tai said, and I feel like it is. We've been marching for a long time, and nothing seems to have changed. But I still wanted to be there. Still would like to be at one of the marches.
You want to be part of the vibes, being together, being with people that think and feel the same way that you did.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's good. Sorry, excuse me. Right. So, I mean, all right. So, Munira, you raised a very important point. You said that we've been marching for a very long time. Are you saying, and probably this is to all of you, but in particular to Munirazi and even Prince Tai, are you saying that you feel that marching is a waste of time? Because I mean, somebody said that you've been doing it a long time. Yeah.
Well, not exactly. I feel like it's like a building block, like the bottom building block. But I think we've been on this building block for too long, and we need to move on. So it's not that it's a waste of time; it's that we've done it, and nothing seems to have happened. So we need to move on. That's at least what I think.
Right. Prince Tai.
Yeah, I would say a similar thing to Munya.
Raise your voice a bit, Prince Tai. You're a bit low. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd just say that I'd say a similar thing to Munya. I would say that, like Munya said, we've done marching for quite a while, and it's time that we go to something that would get us places faster. And it's definitely not a waste of time, because if anything, it's just a good way to get Black people to unite and be together with each other. But I think that there are bigger things that we can do to get attention better.
Okay. So, I mean, you're talking about thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people went out on the streets at different times, different places. Some people say that these marches helped to unify, because it wasn't just African people on the march, there were other people on the march. What would you say to that? It helped to unify across the board. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say that that's quite accurate, and that's probably one of the good benefits of marching.
Okay. Any of the others? It might be good to just keep your mics open for now, so you can just be a bit more free flowing. Matata, do you think it brought the different races together, and do you think it is good for, you know, addressing the race issue in this country? Did you think it had a good impact on that?
I do think it definitely did bring races together, but like in terms of like addressing like the race issue, I feel like every race has a different race issue in the country. So like for Asian person to speak about Black people's racism in racism in Britain, it wouldn't really have the same impact. Like they wouldn't really understand, because they're not Black themselves. So we should have a like a black spokesman or someone in a higher power that's black to speak on black issues. Is because like the crossover thing. I mean, it's cool, but like it's not. I don't want to say ideal, but it's not like it shouldn't be like the focus. It shouldn't be like our aim to unite all the races together. If that makes sense.
So you feel that even though other people turned up on the march, do you feel it had any real bearing on how things are affecting us?
Not really, no.
Or addressing any of the issues that have affected us?
No, not really.
No. Munirazi?
Well, I feel like it's just to make people look
Sorry?
good on the camera. I feel like it was just to make people look good on the camera, on the TV. Because if they showed just black people standing there marching by themselves and white people just watching, then it wouldn't be a good image. But a couple white people in and out of that collective just made it look like there were people that actually supported it. But I highly doubt that they were on board with everything that was being proclaimed.
Okay. It seemed to have had a very big impact on young people. A lot of young people were moved, inspired, angered because of what had happened and what is happening on a day-to-day basis, especially with the police. Do you think that there is more sympathy now towards young people in regards to the brutalization from the police that they find on a day-to-day, the harassment? Do you think there's more sympathy now after seeing that incident?
Well, I feel like in any case, it may have affected, but it depends on what kind of mindset a police officer takes. Because if a police officer looks at that and says, "Oh, that means I could get in trouble if I do this to a young black child," then obviously it is helping. But then if a police officer looks at that and says, "Oh, if I don't stop this, this is what's going to happen," it can have both a negative and a positive effect, in my opinion.
Okay. Do you think that the general public is more sympathetic to what young people have been shouting out and crying out about against harassment from the police? Do you think the general public is more sympathetic now, or
Well, the way I think about it,
now you
go
can
ahead?
go. You can go.
Go on.
I was going to say, the way I think about it, it's been happening for years. It's not a new thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like this has always happened. We've always had different marches to attract attention. Give it a couple of years, and another black young man or woman gets shot and killed. So I feel like it's nothing new, and sympathy isn't really what we need, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. Matata.
Oh yeah, I agree. Sympathy isn't what we need, and I feel like people have become more informative and they've realized that we're not exaggerating, because I feel like a lot of people think that we're exaggerating, that we're being lazy, and there's other ways to like escape police brutality. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people have become more informed and realized that racism is really ingrained in like everything that we do. Like regardless, it's really like ingrained in everywhere we go. Even if we go to the shop, people are looking at us sideways in case we're going to steal something, etc., etc. So I feel like they've realized our reality, that we can't really escape racism unless we, I don't know, like destruct the whole system and like start again or something like that. So yeah.
Okay, right. We've got a few more young people in. That's great. We have Princess Konedu, Princess Maya, and Princess Kasensa back with us. And Princess Jordan. So Konedu, you might have to squeeze over a little bit so we can get Princess Jordan in as well. Yes, right. Excellent. Right. Welcome to the chat. We're just on our first subject. Maya, can you please enable your screen? And Kasensa, can you please enable your screen as well? We're just on our first subject. Okay. Right, Maya. Okay,
So,
you're on another.
my
You're on
camera
another.
doesn't work.
Oh, your camera don't work. Okay, right. So it looks like 3 of them will be kind of slightly our fault. It's not theirs. There's some miscommunication and they've all ended up together. But again, it's not their fault. And they only seem to have one screen. But okay, that's fine. You're used to working together with each other, so you just take it in terms who wants to speak. Just pretend we're on a live panel, and we just take it from there. Because Sensor disappeared again, but okay. So Matatat, right. So Kanedu, Maya, and Jordan, we're just on our first topic, which is Black Lives Matter, and we're really at the point now we're discussing whether we feel that these marches had a good impact for African people, whether these marches are a waste of time or, it's really taken our fight forward. Is there better understanding in the community across the board in the country of the reality of what's really happening to us? Have we garnered any sympathy? I think 2 of our young people have said basically it's not sympathy that we want and that this is not new. So I don't know if any of you want to say anything at this point. Just introduce yourself before you answer any questions. Just tell us who you are, what's your name, your age, and what you're doing, what you're studying, or what have you. So any of you want to jump in on that at the moment? I'm assuming there's a slight delay, but go on.
Hello. Yeah, my name's Maya. I'm 16. I'm first year of college and I'm studying A-level politics, English and philosophy. And so could you repeat the question? Was you talking about Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, we're talking about Black Lives Matter. The impact. I think one of the first questions we asked was, did any of you attend any of the march or protests? Do you feel that these protests and march has garnered, some support for African young people in particular? Do you think there's a better understanding now of what young people have been complaining about for years, for decades, for centuries? And do we feel that some people say that it's brought the races closer together? Do you feel that, that has been the case? So, where anything you want to say about it? And if you didn't attend, do you want to attend?
Yeah, me personally, I didn't attend any of the marches. I did want to go, but I just didn't end up going. But I feel like, of course, a lot of different races were involved in terms of the protests, but I don't really, a lot of people were giving them kudos for like joining the marches and that, but I don't really see it that way. I see it as something to do with like humanity. Like we as humans, as Black people, have been treated badly, so everyone should be out regardless. They don't need like celebration for helping us, basically, when it should just happen naturally. So that's kind of how I see BLM, and I do feel like a lot of good things did come out of it. It definitely brought Black young people together. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, thanks for that.
My name is Kennedy. I'm 17 and I'm doing an apprenticeship in childcare. And my personal opinion on Black Lives Matter is, I think the best thing about it is that it's spreading awareness, like Maya said, in the youth. Like more people know about it, more people are talking about the injustices that are happening to us. So I think that's the best thing about Black Lives Matter.
Okay. Give thanks for that, Princess Kanedu. Princess Jordan.
My name's Jordan. I'm 18, studying property at uni and doing an apprenticeship in it at the same time. I think Black Lives Matter, like these two said, brought us together and it raised awareness, and there's a lot more speak about it on social media, which is obviously one of the most powerful platforms in terms of changing things around, because there's so many people from different countries, age groups that have different power. So I think it has also alerted like more powerful people and people with more money to do more to get word out there. And yeah, I think it has been successful, but there have been a couple deaths in America, and I'm not sure about this country, but there has been some damage done. But I think overall, Pardon?
You mean some deaths since Floyd George?
Yes,
Floyd.
yes. So during the protests, and just the whole revolution, there's been a lot of revolting in America. So in that process, there has been more police brutality, a lot more arrests, and yeah, there has been some negative impacts. But I think overall, the impacts were definitely good, and it is still going on. It has quieted down a bit, but it's still going on. It's obviously hard with coronavirus to do the marches and protests because of social distancing. So I think that is affecting it. But,
okay. Tendai. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so I mean, really, that has taken up a good part of the summer in the middle of the COVID pandemic. There was this murder live on TV, which reverberated throughout the whole world. Everyone was watching. But since then, as Princess Jordan said, since then, there's been a number of deaths and even some hangings. So do we feel that we need to march more? Do you feel that, you know, we need to use another strategy? Anyone can go. And if so, what strategy do you think we should use?
Well, as I said earlier, I feel like marching is the first stepping stone, but obviously we need to progress from there. And I think the next best thing to do is to, when things happen, you can. So I'm not sure if many people know, but there was a tropical sun. There was a thing with tropical sun, and people started boycotting tropical sun products. And I feel like we could keep doing that, like the bus boycott in, I'm not quite sure when
America,
that was.
Alabama. You're talking about,
Yeah, in America, and we could do stuff like that and use those kind of fuel our own economy. So instead of going to the Starbucks to get coffee, you could go to a local black coffee shop and invest in your economy and transport the black pound, and that way we can enrich in our economy, and then we can create youth clubs, create venues and places for us to meet and discuss how we're going to further better our race.
okay, that's excellent. Can you put it back in? I mean, the buy black people, number of people said that buying black is a more constructive way to address the problem by hitting people in their pockets. Do you agree with that? That's what Munirazi is saying, that he feels that is probably a better approach. Does anybody agree with that, or even disagree?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I feel like, as I was saying on the radio, I don't know if anyone heard, but even if we did collect reparations, what would we do with the reparations? Would we be able to put back into the community, or would we just be doing the same things we do now? Because we all have money. It's not like we don't have money. We all work a 9-to-5 job. So, and we still, I don't feel like we put back into the community as much as we could. So I feel like that would be a main thing to do instead of just marching.
I think, well, I guess in response to what Munirazi said, it would definitely help the Black community a lot if we invested more in Black businesses and brands. But on social media, there is a lot of talk about how Black-owned businesses have a later response time, and they're a bit more unprofessional. Because obviously, if there's customer service, their customer service is lacking. Because obviously, if there's one or two people by themselves with a whole business, they're going to be really overwhelmed with the amount of orders and complaints and refunds and all of that type of stuff. So people need to be a bit more educated maybe to understand what helping and contributing towards Black businesses would actually do, because they just want their product and they want it fast and professionally. So I think it's about understanding that, yeah, you might lack in some areas, but you are helping the Black community at the end of the day.
Okay, excellent. Did anybody else want to say anything on that? Okay, let's move on to another subject. A very interesting one. Oh, you want to say something? Go ahead, Maya. Sorry.
Sorry. I was saying, I do definitely agree with Minarazi when he says the first step is protesting, because protesting, what it does is to help raise awareness to other Black people that may not have seen the issue. You know, just going about your day to day and not have seen the issues as that deep to them. But the protesting is definitely first step, and obviously, like everyone else has said, reinvesting our money into the Black community so that we can build for ourselves our own system is definitely beneficial, and it's definitely one of the biggest steps we can take into solving the problem.
I think with the protesting, sorry, I just forgot to add that the reason why protesting is good is because it also shows like other races, the government, and whatever, that we're serious about it, like what we're willing to do. And also, when there's big protests, there's roads that are closed, businesses can't open, people are late to get to work, so it does have an effect on the economy, and it makes the country look like it's not the look that they're going for at 10 Downing Street. So I think the protests, they're more likely to respond and try and just shut it down quickly. Whatever their motives are, they will do something about what the protests are on the topic of.
Okay, excellent. That's very important. And I think the discussion that Princess Jordan raised, which is very important, because there's a lot of criticism of Black businesses, that they're unprofessional. And I think sometimes it's a mindset. Because I go in shops every day that are not African, right? Run by other people. And I don't see no top high professional service. I ain't getting no, on point professional service from them, but we still go in there. But I think there's a tendency that soon as we enter our own shop, we're just hyper vigilant and hyper critical, like, oh, they didn't sweep the floor, or they took long to till up, bring up my arm thing, and all those kind of things. I think we buy things from Next, from Sports Direct, and all them other places, Jordans, what have you. And how many times do we bring them back because of this, or because of that, or because of this, or because of that? But we still go back there. We don't say, oh, I'm professional, the sewing wasn't good. We go back there. We see that as a product, an individual that you had an argument with, but we still go back to the shop. So I think sometimes our criticism are a bit misplaced. And that's not to say that there isn't any work that we need to do in our community in delivering high standards. But I think sometimes the kind of standards that we're talking about, we're not expecting that from other people. We just kind of complain about that thing that day and leave it there. Where we'll go into that Black shop and, oh, every time I go in, they haven't got that. I'm not going back there, or it's not open. I just went to the shop the other day because I didn't organize my business. I went to the Asia shop at the corner there, and it was closed because obviously they're short of staff, and probably somebody needed to go to the toilet. It may be as simple as that. They were closed for 10 minutes. I don't know why they were closed, but they were closed for 10 minutes. So I'm just saying that these things are very important, and I'm glad that type of discussion is taking place now, because it's needed. Not a discussion that's constantly criticizing Black businesses. Black businesses are offering a service more often than not to the Black community, and that's a big challenge. Tena Murray. Somebody's going to say something.
And Tena Murray, I feel like it's like we're too quick to judge, and if we can put some money into the system, then the place can can rebuild and make things better to attract more customers. And it just builds up until we have like a supermarket, like a big supermarket like Asda, Tesco, or Sainsbury's, owned by black people. And if we light a spark, then we can get there. But it's just we don't trust we don't trust ourselves. And if we walk in a store and there's not an Asian man or a Turkish man in there, then we don't trust it for some reason. And yeah, I don't know.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go to our second discussion point. Take a deep breath. I'm going to ask Kasenza, if you want to join and keep your phone disabled, your video disabled, then please do. Because if you're having problems with your internet, maybe by bringing up the video, it's probably going to make it a bit more difficult. Even though I prefer to see all of your beautiful faces, I'd still like you to join the discussion. There you are. Kasenza, have you been able to hear the discussion?
The last thing I heard was about marching.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to say anything on what you heard, or do you like me to kind of repeat?
I didn't hear much. I just heard we've been marching for years. That's literally all I heard. Okay.
We've been doing that, definitely. Right. Okay. So we were talking about, without going over, you know something, Kasenza? I'm going to move the discussion on because of time.
Okay,
so,
no problem.
Yeah, if you feel to come back, we were just talking about, the death of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter marches and what impact do we think it had on the general population and so forth and so forth. And then we kind of, just went into the strategies that we think that we might be more effective. And we were talking about buying black as being one of the effective strategies. Can I just ask before we move over? Some people say that they feel the best strategy would be to join an organization, to unify as black people by joining an organization. So we're not just buying black and making black people wealthy to spend with white people again, but we are joining an organization that is raising consciousness, providing schooling, education, home help services, counseling, and all those kind of things. Can I just have your view on that? And that's that being more of an effective approach to addressing the racism in this society. Can I have your views? Anybody can just release their mic and say whether they think it's a good idea that we join a black organization, or we don't think that's going to address anything. Nobody got a view on whether we...
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Sorry, I'll repeat the question. Okay, so some of us say marching is more effective. Some of us say buying black is more effective. There are others that say the most effective way to address racism, white supremacy, whatever we call it, is to join a black organization where we can address all the things that are affecting us in our lives, like our education for our children, providing schooling, after school care, counseling, advocacy for people that are having problems in work, children in school, exclusions, providing home help, things like that. What's your views on that?
I would agree on that.
Matata, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. Don't know if your mic is. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, go on.
Hello?
Right. So two people are speaking.
Hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I agree. Going off the bat of like the Jewish community, that's literally what they did. So, and also being in an organization myself, that helped a lot in education wise, because for a year my mom didn't know where to put me, etc., etc. And luckily for Alkebu-Lan, she was able to put me in an African centered school, which helped a lot with the person that I am today. So I definitely agree that it definitely helps, even with little things like say someone has a big day at court or something, you have a group of people showing support, which shows the system that they have a support system. They have people that are behind them that agree with whatever's happening, etc., etc. And yeah, you can get your own building. You can, like, things will happen quicker when there's large amounts of people involved. So, yeah.
Thanks for that, Mrs. Mateta. One of the young women, I think you were saying something, or any of the boys want to come in?
I think it is really important to join an organization because, like Mateta said, it's easier to organize amongst yourselves and get certain things done, like Mateta was saying. But at the same time, I think if it's too, because sometimes we're Black people, like, we always have excuses to do things. So I think, like, the first step for them to take, which is, in my eyes, is quite easy, is to just put in £1 back into the Black community. I think that's an easy step to take, whereas joining an organization can be a lot of commitment. And I think Black people, when they hear commitment, it's like they can't really, you know, it's hard for them. So I think the first step that they can take, which is quite easy, is go to a Black shop, go to a Black event and put it back into community. So yeah.
Sorry, thank you for that, Kanedu. Anybody else want to say anything when you're right?
I was just gonna say that I feel like, yeah, from well, I was born into a movement, so I know from experience that it is a good, impact. It has a good impact. But I feel like when we have organizations, or when we have organizations, it's like we seem to have a lot of arguments within the organizations, a lot of squabbles about little things that don't really need to be squabbled about. So I think we need to start with a certain group of people and then build it up. So we know we have a clear agenda and a clear goal, and then we can work our way to that, instead of having different people who believe in different things all in one group, fighting over what they want to do for themselves. And sorry, also I feel like we should try to bring the children into our organizations, try to make it more involved, make children more involved into the organization, so that they can understand from young and they can be involved from young into what we're trying to teach them.
Sister Kai, I think your mic's off.
Anyone want to say anything else in terms of whether organization is the way forward? Yeah.
I think with organizations, what we have a tendency to do is make excuses. So, oh, I have school, I have work, and just make excuses for being late or not attending functions or helping the community. So I think the community would also have to be educated on what exactly the bigger picture is and what we hope the outcome is of the community before it can be like an organization. Because, well, yeah.
Give thanks for that. Some very, very important and incisive comments here. Excellent. Good. It shows that you're really thinking. I hope our gathering in the chats, those that are listening online, are making comments, or maybe got some questions. Shakira, has anybody made any questions or comments on these matters that we're talking here that we want to put to them? Please, let me see. I don't know if I can bring that up in my screen, but if you can, put the comment up so we can see it. All right, so we're saying that organizations are important. From what I'm hearing from most of you, organizations are important, but there are challenges in joining organizations, and some of those challenges are the commitment that people may have to make. Some of the challenges are that sometimes we may make excuses because of those commitments. Sometimes that people in the organization have different views about what is required or what the expectations are. And so they're not necessarily working towards the same goal, which causes sometimes conflict. Or I think that's what some of the things that are saying is to make sure that everybody wants the same thing. And yeah, excellent. All right. Unless there's anybody wanted, and I know Princess Cassandra, you haven't said much. Do you want to say anything at this point? No. Okay. So I'm gonna move to our next discussion point, which is Black History Month. Black History Month, we're in the middle of Black History Month now. Some of us call it African History Month, African Heritage Month, all kind of month, multicultural month, all kind of thing. But since Black Lives Matter, have we seen any changes in the institutions that we're doing? I know it's a bit difficult because we've had COVID and some of you haven't been able to get back to school or college or anything. But I mean, some of you, are you being able to make a comparison in terms of a couple of years back and now? How has the country responded to Black History Month? Is it important now in the college or your school or in the institution that you're going to? Or do you think it's still the same? And do you think it's at a reasonable level in terms of the country acknowledging and respecting that there is this thing called Black History Month? Or do you think there's undermining of it? Can I hear some comments? Please feel free, just jump in. Ty, you like you
well, in my
okay. Go ahead. He's close up. Come back in after Ty. Go ahead.
Let's go. Well, in my experience, I feel like Black History Month.
I know.
Is it me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I think Black History Month has become like less important because in my college it's as if Black History Month isn't going on. Like they have like a whole display board, but no one's really talking about it. Like the teachers aren't starting their lessons with a bit of information about Black history. Like it's not really being celebrated. And I feel like when I was younger, near the end of primary school, it got changed to Diversity Month anyway. So Black History Month just became non-existent in my primary school. So I think as time's gone on, Black History Month has become less significant in schools and in education in general.
In
Ty,
my
you want to say something at this point? Oh, Kanedu. All right. Let me bring Ty in. Ty, let me hear. I've heard you for a little while.
I would say that.
Raise your voice a bit,
Black
son.
History Month.
Raise your voice a bit, please.
Okay, I would say that Black History Month has become a lot less, not exactly important, but it's become a lot less important to other people than it used to be, because I think that Black History Month is important. Like it's important for other people to learn Black history, because I've noticed that in my school, most of the children that go to my school are Asian, but we mostly learn about white history, and I would say it's a good opportunity for other races to learn about Black history. But I think that Black history isn't something that should just be celebrated in 1 month. I think that's something that should be celebrated all the time, and that should be widely known all the time.
Well, I did an apprenticeship, so when I go to college to study, I have a billboard there, a Black History billboard. But apart from that, not one word has been spoken about it. So Black Lives Matter in that regard hasn't really done much. In secondary school, we had a couple lessons on it. But I always remember the lesson we had on Gandhi, because that just made me laugh. Like we had a lesson on Gandhi during Black History Month. So yeah, in terms of school and Black History Month, that's been my experience.
Well, for me, in uni, there's no billboard. There's literally like a small square on the university website when you open the homepage. So there's literally very much nothing at all. Even like the ACS, they did something yesterday, but it wasn't really like Black history related. So there isn't really much going on with Black History Month. I feel like when I was younger, it was much more in my face, like 24s. I don't know why, but like it was very like relevant that, oh, and like I know it's Black History Month. In secondary school, we had one assembly and they spoke about like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Rosa Parks, and then that was it. It was never spoken about again. So I feel like over the years, it's just become less. Well, they're trying to make it less and less relevant. So yeah.
Then I'm alright. Well, I study history for GCSE, and we haven't done a single thing on Black History Month. In fact, we haven't even acknowledged that it's Black History Month. School's just been going on as normal and nothing has happened. That's happened for the last few years I've been in the school. But I feel like with this whole Black History Month, with this whole Black Lives Matter thing, which started before Black History Month, I think people have overlooked Black History Month because of the Black Lives Matter movement, and I feel like Black Lives Matter has become more important than Black History Month. And yeah, I feel like it's kind of covered up Black History Month, so no one really talks about Black History Month because they feel like, oh, we already did Black History, we did something about Black people. Why do we have to do it again? And yeah.
So they feel that we've been talking about Black people all summer, and you're coming into autumn, you want to talk about Black people for a whole month again?
Yeah, that's what I feel.
Kasensa, we can't see you, but you did you hear our comments? The question. We can't hear her. Okay. Anybody else want to say anything about Black History Month? I mean, can you tell me, what do you think? How do you think Black History Month should be celebrated? Let's start with in your institutions of learning. I know Kasensa's homeschooled, but in your instance, some of you were homeschooled, but now you're in other institutions. In your institutions of learning, what and how do you think it should be celebrated? Just give me some ideas.
I personally think they should try and engage the young people in college through like music or through performing arts. Like, say if the theatre was to put together a production for it, or debates. I think that would be really interesting to like, because someone like me that's grown up in an environment which teaches you about your culture consistently, like my input would help some people that don't know a lot about their history. So I think debates and getting people talking about situations, the past and currently what's happening, would be a good way to celebrate Black History Month.
I think that they should at least be some lessons. Like, you see how we have history lessons? I think there should be at least a couple African history lessons in the month. You see how we learn about Romans, we should at least learn about the Egyptians, at least have some lessons so we can impart knowledge. Because I know a lot of people in mainstream schools, they won't have a lot of knowledge about African history. So I think they should at least have a couple at least lessons on Black history, just as they would have on their history.
Excellent. Any other comments?
Yeah,
How do you feel?
I feel like we should try and engage people through sports. Like, well, at least in my school, there's a lot of sporty boys and girls, but our school is mainly boys. So I feel like we could invite like a Black sportsman or woman to the school and have them talk about what it's like being Black and being a sports person, and how they have been treated like for being black, and the inspiration, that made them want to do what they are doing, and whether or not they're happy with what they're doing now, and why are they speaking out about Black Lives Matter?
And Amari, anybody else want to share any ideas that they think and how they feel that the schools or the institutions should engage with the whole Black History Month observance?
I think that it's not necessarily that schools should dedicate lessons or anything to Black history in terms of learning about the actual history, because then it would be, you'd have to learn about every single ethnic culture, and there'd be no selection process, so it's a bit unfair to ask of that. But I think there should be a lot of education put on racism and how to avoid saying certain things, and just helping them understand why it is that racism and things like that are so important, it's such a big deal. So I don't think it's necessarily that they need to learn about the pyramids and hieroglyphics, but they should learn about what is bad behavior towards Africans and Black people in general.
So it's more racism awareness training and things like that, you're saying, like anti-bullying week, on like when they put on anti-bullying week and things like that. Okay, but African history is some people will say African history is already is history. So what you're actually learning, what is being taught at school, has excluded African history from the picture. So you can be telling a story about an incident that happened, and you can just leave out African people's involvement in it. So you don't have to necessarily create a whole new curriculum, but I mean, not a whole new curriculum. You don't have to create a whole new a specific lesson, but they do celebrate and observe different other people's celebration throughout the year in schools. Is that not the case?
Yeah, they do. They, especially in RE, they have different. We always learn about other people's cultures in RE.
Or even during Diwali,
like Ramadan.
Learn the origin of it, and how people celebrate it. So
exactly.
I do feel like there should, like Nelly said, there should be lessons.
At least two couple.
We did have lessons, but the type of Black history that they wanted to teach us was the generic things about, Martin Luther King or Mary Seacole or like slavery. Those are the three main topics of Black history that we learned. So I feel they need to broaden the subject area when it comes to teaching Black history.
Things like the civilizations, 2,000, 5,000 years ago. You want to talk about, going back in antiquity, that type of history?
Yeah, and I keep mentioning this, because I mentioned this on the radio, but in terms of the subjects that we're studying, they can relate it to the past. So for example, for philosophy, they can explain, but they wouldn't, but they can explain where the ancient Greeks got their philosophy from, where their knowledge actually came from. Or in maths, for example, you can learn about Imhotep rather than learning about Pythagoras, because he wasn't the one, the actual originator of that theorem. So things like that.
Okay. And from what you're saying, you feel that these institutions need to engage more young people, especially in the colleges and the universities, engage you in organizing the program that they're laying out.
Yeah, I think they need to allow us to be more hands-on with organizing stuff for Black History Month. They need to put it out there, because they don't really ask us what we want to do for Black History Month, or try and get together a committee. They don't do that.
Okay. There used to be Pan-African societies in my day. Oh, so how long ago that was, and even slightly after my day. Pan-African Society, African Caribbean societies in universities. Are there any now? Matata, you're at uni. Are you at uni? Jordan?
There are societies, African Caribbean societies, but I feel like because of COVID, they aren't able to do much. So yeah, they are able to, but they did one thing yesterday. So there's that. But yeah.
Raven?
No, 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 no. They did like a music clash thing. So yeah.
Not too far off.
No.
Okay. Now, sometimes I find that a lot of the African Caribbean societies is just the latest party that they're putting on, the dance, this, that. But the Pan-African societies used to put on more of the debates, inviting people to come and speak and, you know, things like that. But over the years, it's been very up and down. So I'm not sure where they're at with their societies. And, you know, there was a time where some of these societies were funded and then they stopped funding them. And I heard that even SOAS has used to have an Africa department, and they have now, you know, disbanded the Africa department, and you know they have one little section now which is part of the Asian or the Asiatic department. So yeah, that's where this society is going. Okay.
Sister Kai, your mic's off again.
Sorry about that. I keep forgetting my mic, turning my mic on and off. But I said we'll move on from there, and let's give thanks and praises to Baba Carter G. Woodson, who gave us a lot of to think about and develop on 1 week of that. Then in 1926 it was called Negro History Week. It then went on to the 60s and became Black History Week, then Black History Month. African in the US it's African American History Month. We call it African History Month, and you know, some of us still calling it Black History Month, African Heritage Month. But the most important thing, we're celebrating our history, our people, our culture, you know, our God, our creator, everything great about ourselves. And you know, it's a good opportunity, you know, to really just reflect on what we're doing and what we're not doing. So Ty's disappeared as well. Okay, so we did have a few things up in the chat. Is it any way, Shakara, are you able to pull? Let me see. Should I do this? Nope, that's the wrong move. Are you able to bring some of those up? I think some of the people were saying, I don't know if you're able to bring it up, but some of the people in the chat was saying, well done, thanks for organizing this. Great to see our young people discussing things. I think some of the comments were on the previous discussion. I think when we were talking about organization, somebody said the leader needs to know that it's something like not just their views and so either harness the support of others or the views of others, something like that. And there was one or two other comments, but yeah, it kind of came and went. Okay, let's move on. The next discussion area that I want to go into is quite a interesting one. It's the issue of sex education. Oh, right, he's come back. Okay. Sex education in schools. Now, there's a massive debate taking place as programs are being rolled out throughout the country, basically saying that sex education needs to be taught to children at a younger age, that to be introducing sex education at either age 11 or age, you know, like even just start secondary school or the end of primary school is not good enough. Children are already sexually engaged, or children are hearing about sex and through movies and things like that, but on talks with their friends and not being informed properly. And so they are rolling out programs from nursery age, from age 5, with pictorial images in them. And I thought I wouldn't bring it up, but some of them are cartoon drawing, but quite vivid. And not just looking at man and woman, but also looking at woman and woman, man and man. I've seen, so I know like boroughs like Redbridge has, well, for about the last 2 years, have rolled out these programs into the schools from age 5. Some people say that it's important that children have a broad perspective, because if they're just taught it from their homes, it's going to be limited. That they should have, or incorrect. They should have a broad perspective in accepting there are different type of families and there are different type of relationships, and so they wouldn't be so or either offended or discriminatory or bully other children that might be that way inclined. So the floor is open. Do you feel that, what age, let me start with this question, what age do you think sex education should be taught at school, or whether it should be taught at school at all?
I would say that.
I think the age. Whoa. Damn.
Right. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think it's at a good age, personally, because that's when I learned about it, like not year 11, at the age of 11. But I feel like they should not necessarily like teach about sex. I think they should teach about like how to use like sanitary pads and stuff like that, like things about your body first before they jump into the deep end. Like we were learning about that stuff, and I'm like, but I still don't know how to use a pad. I didn't know there was other options to use, like, well, I don't use them, but like tampons and stuff like that. There's healthier options to use. They didn't teach us how to like get rid of cramps, and like I feel like they jump way too fast, and they should start at the beginning, personally. That one, and I feel like they shouldn't start at 5. I feel like it's okay to protect the innocentness, if that's a word, or the innocence of like young children. Like they don't have to know about the entire world. Like they have their whole life ahead of them to learn about that type of stuff. Like it's okay for them to learn about letters and animals, and like they don't have to be, that doesn't have to always be in their face, because when you're my age, that's all that's in your face, and you don't get the chance to have a break from it. So I feel like when you're young, you should be allowed to just know about animals and letters and simple things in life before you start complicating and adding all these other things about it. But I do understand it from the sense of not bullying other children because their parents are different, and etc. etc. So I do understand it from that point of view, but I don't think they should like push it so much in schools. I feel like they should have a conversation with their parents, and if the parents choose to have that conversation with their child, then that's on them. But yeah.
Give thanks to that much out. That's really good, and really important areas you just raised there, that you feel that they should be talking about maturation, growth and maturation, and how your body's developing and how to deal with the changes in that development, like when you start menstruating, I guess growing hairs, body hygiene, rather than going straight into two people coming together and copulating. Okay, why have the boys disappeared? I don't want to say they've disappeared because they got shy now with this subject matter. Maybe they went earlier. I know they did go. I'm only joking, but we'd like to hear from them as well. Come in. Is that Maya that wants to say something?
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think the age that I learned it at school was like year 5, year 6, so it was like 10, 11. I think that's the right age to start off the conversation, but we didn't learn about sex per se. We learned about, you know, puberty basically, and how our body was going to change as we get older through adolescence and stuff like that. I think that is the best place to start, and we was at the right age because obviously that's when it was beginning. But I think it's absolutely unnecessary and very disturbing for them to be teaching 5-year-olds more content than they were teaching us when we were much older than them, and to have vivid images to use as material to teach children. I feel like there's a very big ulterior motive when it comes to teaching such young children about sex. Let me let someone else go say something before I go into much more detail. But yeah, that's my first viewpoint.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, I think learning at 11, that's year 6, year 5. I think that's a good age to learn about, because that's when your body starts changing. Like, that's when you start your period, or if you're a boy, yeah, that's just when things start. That's when puberty starts to hit. So I think learning about what's happening to your body is very important at that type of age. But learning about anything at 5, I think it's 5, 6, 7. I think that's I don't think it's not needed at all. Like, you're just learning maths and English, and they want to teach you about this stuff. It's not relevant to your life at all. Whereas when you're 11, 12, you're kind of, starting to get into stuff. So it is relevant. Whereas when you're younger, you don't need to learn about it at all. So yeah.
I think,
but some people would say that it's important that you start them young, because they're going to see it on TV anyway. They see people kissing all the time. They watch soaps, and it's up there in the movies all the time. So give them a proper education around it.
You're raised. It depends how you're raised. Because when I was 5 and 6, my mom wasn't showing me any type of things where I saw that type of behavior. I was watching cartoons and animals. So it really depends how you're raised. If you're showing your child that, you can't then expect for all children to now learn about this. Like, you're showing your child this type of thing. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's the responsibility of the parent. If they're going to allow their children to watch graphic things like that, then it's also their responsibility to educate them on it. It's not necessarily for the school to do so and do a blanket education of everyone. And I also think that at the age of 5, it is unnecessary, but in year 6, when you're just about to go to secondary school, is the perfect time to do it, because obviously hormones start raging, and that's when you're going to be in school with people who are 16, 17, 18. So I think that's a good age to kind of induce them into it and introduce them and show them what they're in for, basically. I don't think it's...
Some people say that children are actually maturing at a younger age now. So you need to start this type of education now.
But you see, the problem with that is that the world is trying to mature children at a younger age. It's not happening naturally. For example, what I've realized is when you watch movies, the age certificate will be like a 12. But the content of the movie, they use a lot of sexual references, they use a lot of swearing. And I think back to the time when I was younger, I used to be watching movies like those were a 12. Do you know what I mean? And it had none of that. So I feel like it's not happening naturally, although they're trying to say, children are progressing early. I don't think that's the case. I feel like they're trying to force ripe it, basically. And that is all part of the agenda. By teaching it in schools, is all part of the agenda. That will help them in saying, they're learning much quicker.
100%. Well, for me, I work with children, and not once have I thought, I need to teach them about this and that because it's going to help them to progress right now. No, what I'm teaching them is maths and English and things that they need to know, how to deal with friends and, stuff like that. Not any of that. At that age, you don't need to learn about that stuff yet because, like I said, it's not relevant to your life. And like Maya was saying, all these movies and things that they're watching and things that they're exposed to is done on purpose. It's done to desensitize and to
you know what I find what I find more sinister, more scary is the way in which they're trying to mature young children is in a sexual manner. It's not like you're trying to mature them intellectually, like you're trying to stimulate their brain. You're trying to, it's almost as if, as if they're trying to get them ready for the predators that are out there in the world. Do you know what I mean? Because if you have a 5-year-old,
they would say that they're actually trying to protect them. by letting them be more aware rather than vulnerable and naive?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's because when they are teaching, the schools like to get really smart with this. When they're teaching the children's very inappropriate stuff, they may not inform, you know, the parents and the guardians of that child. So if you're trying to say you're trying to protect them from predators at that age, their parents are the ones that are responsible for them. Their parents are the one that's going to make sure that they're in a safe environment at all times. But if you as a parent has put your child into the education system and hoping that they are not going to be exposed to such inappropriate content, then it's kind of, where am I going with this? It's kind of hard for the school to then turn around and say, we're trying to protect you from predators, when you're teaching them how to have sex. So if a naive child is approached by a predator, they're not going to know that what they're doing is wrong. You get what I'm trying to say? Whereas when we was growing up, we would know that learning that type of stuff or seeing that type of stuff at that age would be wrong and unfamiliar to us. But if you're getting them accustomed to those type of images and getting them accustomed to those type of behaviors, then you're setting them up to deal with predators rather than protecting them from that.
I think we need to remember that learning about this type of stuff is not a part of life. It's, you know. Continue?
Go on.
I just want to, I 100% agree with everything that Maya said. And with the whole like predator thing and how you can make them less vulnerable, you could literally just say, you know, if you see a strange man or woman that you've never recognized before, move away, go to somewhere where you feel safer, etc. Like, you don't have to involve sex into every situation. You can literally just give them straightforward instructions. It doesn't have to be, oh yeah, make sure you close your legs and you can literally be like, if you see a man or a woman that you don't recognize and they're talking to you in a certain way, call an adult, shout for help, etc., etc. Like, you don't have to involve sex into every single aspect of life. Like, so
I think that with social media, it's definitely true that children are maturing faster or they're finding things out faster, but teaching them this stuff at school is going to breed curiosity. So where before it might have been like a taboo thing that they just laugh about with their friends, now it's becoming normalized. So it is going to make it more likely for them to try out what they're curious about and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any of the young men in the group? I haven't heard from you. Do you want to come in? Both of your cameras have been disabled. I'm not sure why or how.
Oh, sorry,
okay.
I'm just eating dinner at the moment. I can't really, my camera went just yet. Sorry.
Kasensa, I'd like to see you. Go ahead, Munya. Would you like to say something on this matter? Whether sex education should be taught at age 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Do you think 5 is a good age?
No, obviously I don't think 5 is a good age. I think that 11, 12 is a good age for them to be taught.
I'm getting feedback. Sorry. I'm getting feedback on somebody's phone. The only time he's got another device on, if you can turn it off. So go ahead. Go ahead, Monurazi.
I was just going to say that, as Mutata said, I think they should gradually get into the deep end of the conversations and start with like how to make friends, how to talk to people, and then gradually get into protecting yourself and stuff like that. Yeah.
Sorry, is Ty still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. You've disabled your video. Right, did you want to say anything on this matter?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'd just like to say that I think that children should only be taught things that are relevant to them at the time that they are being taught it. So something like that isn't relevant to them for a long time, so they shouldn't be exposed to that, because then that's something that they would like to, since they know about it, it's been normalized, and once it's normalized, it's like it's not a threat or it's not a problem anymore. So that's something that they would try to seek out, and that's a big problem.
There, you know, a lot of the institutions, they would say that, yeah, it does bring up curiosity, but they feel that they are not the ones that are doing it. It's already in the media, it's in social media. Most young children from the age of 6 have phones and have access to a lot of stuff out there. So to pretend that it's not out there and it's not happening, you know, we're actually making them more vulnerable rather than talking about these are the protections that you can use and so forth. These are the different types. I mean, one of the material that I was reading, it was showing you the different sexual acts you can engage in, other than, you know, the most known one. Won't go any further than that, but they were breaking all that down. I mean, they were breaking that. They were saying, they were speaking about, this is, I think this part of the curriculum was for children age 11. They were talking about things like, what do you call it? Prostitution, a number of different things. I mean, it's quite a big, vast curriculum. They've really broadened it that they want to bring into the schools. Some of the fears that some of the campaign groups have against it, and they were trying to roll it out across the school for younger age. Thankfully, it was voted out that parents can still take their children out of sex education classes if they so wish, but they're saying it's against the law, which it's against the law to, when your child reaches age 16 at any stage in secondary school, they can now choose for themselves if they want to have the sex education classes. It's not up to the parents. What roles do you think the parents have in this? Do you think it should start with the parent, end with the parent, be everything the parent? Some people say the parents don't even know where to start anyway. They half of them are shy and don't know how to talk to them about it. So we need a school. What's your view?
Yeah, I think it should start with the parent, and the parent should be guiding the information. Like, say, even if the child does partake in the sex education classes, the child should then report back to the parent whatever they were told, and then the parent can elaborate or correct or whatever they want to with whatever information the child gave them. Also, you said something about like vulnerability and stuff. I feel like they're trying to make like vulnerability in children like a bad thing. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, when I was younger, I saw prostitutes, but I didn't know what they were and what they were doing. It hasn't done any harm to me. You just figure it out when you get older. You ask your mom, oh, who is that on the corner? And she may dumb it down for you, but it's not doing great, huge harm to you. So I feel like they're being a bit extra, and like, yeah, I think they're being a bit extra, but yeah.
Okay, so I mean, a lot of people say young people are being sexualized through social media in terms of the music videos. You know, the music videos, the images that are shown on music videos are quite explicit sometimes. So why are we pretending that, you know, they're not already exposed to this? At least in the school, they're saying, at least in the school, it's more organized, structured. The children have an opportunity to explore their thoughts, their feelings. But when you're just watching a video and just seeing very sexualized images, then which a lot of children are exposed to, why are we pretending that that is not the case?
I think that then is a problem with what they're allowed to be shown on YouTube and social media, because if those things weren't shown on social medias, then there'd be no need for sex education to be taught at such a young age, because they wouldn't be exposed to it at all. So that's just a problem of what's shown on movies and social media.
All right. We'll take it. Well, if there's unless there's any more comments, we'll move our discussion on. No more comments on that issue. Okay, great. So, are there any more? Anybody want to make any more comments on that particular area of sex education? Okay, so let's look at sports. There's been a lot.
Wait.
Sorry, was somebody going to say something?
Are we talking about?
Oh, your line is breaking up. So you have to say that again, Princess Maya, because nobody heard that, not even me. I don't know if you need to shout out and come back in. But well, I can't hear anything, and you're
better.
I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah. What was happening was that you were buffering, but go ahead now.
Oh no, I was saying no. I was going to say something, but it's fine.
Okay.
No, I was going to say something, but I forgot what I was going to say, so it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, no problem. All right, let's move on to our next area. I want to talk about sports. Now, again, around the Black Lives Matter, kind of going back slightly, there's a lot of sports people. It's not just since Black Lives Matter. We know probably over the last 3 years or so, a number of sports people have been taking the stand and, saying basically, I'm not accepting racism in sport. I'm not accepting racism in the society. And I'm going to use my platform as a sporting personality who a lot of people are tuned into, who a lot of people love and have on their walls and, so forth. I'm going to let them know that I'm against racism. And I've been taking stance, like going on their knee, using their social media, Twitter and what have you, to make comments and videos and so forth. There are a number of other people are saying this is really bad. They're actually spoiling the beauty of sports, because sports brings people together from all races, all genres. And now, by bringing politics into sport, is actually creating a divide. What's your views on that?
I think, if anything, it's the people that are being racist in sport.
What do you mean?
That are ruining it. Because if we're playing a nice friendly game of sports and we're of football, say, for example, and people are watching and people support the team, and you're being racist to me unprovoked, I think they're the ones who are spoiling it, not me saying defending myself. I think they're the ones who are being racist in the first place, actually spoiling it.
I think that racism is a part of not a part of, but it affects Black people heavily. So you can't just enjoy Black people playing sports and then just ignore the whole racism side. Like you can't like one and then ignore the other. Like, it's okay to. I think it's good that they're incorporating it, because it shows that, I'm not just your puppet, I'm not just your toy, your little entertainment piece to ignore from the entire world. Like, I still have problems and issues that I want to address using my platform, because that's how I'm known and what I'm famous for. So why should I not use my platform and my success, if you want to call it that, to raise awareness of issues that affect me and my community?
Okay. Any other comments on that? Munya?
Well, I think that it's always a good thing to express what you feel, and people who do sports, they're not like robots. You can't expect them to not say what they feel, and I feel like it's good because they can spread the message. Because there's only a few amount of people who won't think that this is a good thing. And people like, for example, Lewis Hamilton, a Formula One driver, when Chadwick Boseman passed away, he won a race and he attributed that race to Chadwick Boseman. And obviously, Chadwick Boseman was in the movie Black Panther, and that movie was like a black, or not black, fully black owned, but like a black uplift black people in that movie, and I feel like that that helps other people think about our black history and think about our black role models more and think about them higher.
Okay. Ty, would you like to say anything on that matter? Should sporting people or, people in the media use their platform to share their views on issues of racism, or should they keep it separate?
I think that is in terms of people in like sports people in high positions, like once people like lots of people follow them, lots of people like when it comes to social media, people know what they're like, people follow them like in their personal lives and things like that. Once you're in a position where lots of people they follow you and they respect you, I think that's the perfect opportunity to show your views on a certain topic, so that it spreads awareness much faster than let's say a not as widely known person would do. Because if once they say that, they're influencing everyone that follows them, everyone that knows them. They've convinced everyone, or they try to convince everyone that what they're saying, like they're just showing their opinion to everyone, and it gets their opinion across to lots of people at the same time.
Okay, excellent. So, I mean, these athletes, they're in the media. People are watching them because they are good athletes. They're not watching them because of or interested in their personal views on much, really, apart from winning for the team that they support, scoring goals, whatever it is. And now they've taken the platform to talk about something that either personal to themselves or an area in the social arena that is a political issue. Do you feel that it, for the average person watching, do you feel it puts a negativism in the game or the sport?
I don't think that it does, but if it does, then I don't think that it should, because just because they're expressing their views on how they feel about, like, let's say they were called racist names or something like that, they were racially oppressed within the sport. I think that if the person watching knows and loves the sport, then they should care just as much as the sports person trying to defend themselves, because they're just showing their opinion on some of the people doing wrong within the sport. So I don't think that should affect how the other person sees them.
Some people say that they're ungrateful because they're getting a lot of money. Some of these sport personalities are getting a lot of money from the game that they play, from advertising. They're getting millions, and yet, they're complaining. Why can't they just ignore these racist comments or ignore, what something that may have happened in the changing room or what have you? Why are they bringing it to the wider public? Why don't they just deal with it within their organization, the Football Federation, what have you? Why are they making it public? Would you agree with it?
I feel like they are still, because they are, well, because you said they're like big football people or whatever, they have people that look up to them. So if they stay silent in issues like that, people that look up to them are going to feel like, oh, it's okay if this etc person calls me an n-word in the changing room or calls me a monkey and they're just going to take it. So I feel like they speak out on it as an example to show that it's not okay, you should speak out, and that anytime you're confronted with that type of situation, you should try to deal with it the best that you can.
Yeah, and I would just like to say, because I was on Instagram the other day, and there was an incident with a footballer who was in the newspaper, who was rumored to, because he's Muslim, he's like a black Muslim. He was rumored to be like not to be like, he said wanted to boycott French because he's from France. They said the Sun newspaper said he wanted to boycott French products and like playing for the French team because the French disrespected Muslims, and he was denying that he had done that. And then he was getting hate from other Muslim people saying that
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't supporting his religion, and how religion comes first, and how people didn't approve of what he was doing. And I feel like either way, no matter what you do, you're gonna get some form of hate for it. So you might as well stand up for what you believe in, and rather than just lay low and still get hate for it. So
You have to be so careful with the media. I agree with you. You have to be so careful with the media because you don't know if they even made it up just to start up this contention, So, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. If you did say it, then probably just stand by it and done. Then try and, be insignificant. But a lot of sport people have stood up over the years and have lost their career. They've been, marginalized. They don't get any promotion. But then others will say, well, you're in the sport anyway, and no matter how great you are, you're still not getting the promotion that you're deserving. So you may as well speak up. Anybody else want to say anything on sports? When you see these young sporting personalities speaking out against racism, how does it make you feel as a young person?
I would say it makes me feel proud that like they it's not like you're not the only person who cares about this kind of thing, and it makes you feel proud that someone who knows this could sabotage their career still does it anyway for the sake of their race.
Okay. Anybody else? How does it make you feel?
I think it's a good thing, but it's also like a reminder that no matter how high you get in life, you're always gonna be confronted with racism. So I guess it's like a reminder that you can't escape it, no matter how many zeros you have in your bank account. So yeah.
Okay. Tenamore?
I think it's a good reminder that we're black, if that makes sense. Like black people think that if we get high on the scale, if we do well, if we're getting a lot of money and we're with all the white people, that racism won't come into it, if that the fact that we're black won't come into it. But I think it's a good reminder, a good wake-up call for everyone that the fight doesn't stop no matter where you are.
Okay. Any other comments on that matter? Does it encourage you to feel that you should stand up in your institutions? I mean, you're still young, but you're in an institution. You feel empowered to stand up? Does it make you feel I can use that person's position to support what I am trying to do or what I'm trying to say?
I'd say that it gives people the confidence when they see someone else that they admire, or someone that they follow. If they see someone that they like speak out about something, it gives themselves the confidence to say, I could do that as well. And so if anything, it's just a really good way of getting everyone to speak out about it. And it's not just, if they keep it to themselves, then it's not allowing other people to have the opportunity when they do it to the media and say what happened to thousands of people watching. Then it helps everyone instead of just themselves.
Give thanks. Right, Tenamori. Has Jordan disappeared? Okay, right. So I'm gonna bring our last area of discussion, and then actually there's some people in the chat. Let me take some comments from some of the people in the chat. If you'd like to ask the young people a question on any of these areas that we discussed so far, I'm not sure at what point you joined, but we were discussing things like sex education, Black Lives Matter, Black History Month, What else did we discuss? Racism in sports. If anybody on the chat wants to ask him a question, then please. Shakara will put a link in the chat room for you to come in and say something. I'm going to ask you when you do join to be tight but meaningful because of the time. So I'm going to go on to our next area discussion. So just, if you're once you're ready, just click on the link and join the chat. Join and ask a question or make a comment, but just be tight with your comments. If you are making comments, just be tight with your comments. So I want to ask us about the society that we're living in. And, you know, you're all young people and you're going to college, and some of you probably joined this society, that society at college or university or what have you. And a number of people say, well, you know, to get by in this system, to change this system, you've got to get involved. You've got to get involved in the politics of the system. Now, you have things like Young Mayor. You know, I'm sure especially when you go to university, you're going to have, or no, even at school, they take you on these career days or what have you, and you go and see different companies that you can join or institutions that you can join, the army, the police, and so forth. Some people say if you want to fight racism, you've got to get into the institution where the racism is being hashed out, then where the ideas are being put together. You need to get into the system rather than standing outside of the system throwing stones or just shouting with a loudspeaker, but to get into the system to change it. How important do you feel it is to get into the system, whether it's in areas of politics like becoming a mayor, becoming an MP, becoming a councillor, joining the police, the army, the education system? How important do you feel it is to get involved inside the institution rather than setting up institutions outside of the mainstream or the European institution? Just on mic, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that could be quite important to.
Yes.
So raise your voice a bit. Sorry, raise your voice a bit, Ty. Sorry.
Okay. I'll just say that it'd be good to either set up your own institutions. This is probably the best way, that you should set up your own institutions where you can get to the top and you can be in a position of power where you can, where your voice can be heard by lots of people. Or I would say another good way would be to, as you said, get into institutions like mayor or government and things like that. And I think that could be a good way to get your voice heard, because once you're inside the institution, you can almost, like, let's say, take it apart from the inside. So you can go into there and help get rid of all the racism from the inside. So you can, yeah, just help out with that. But I think it would probably be better to set up your own institutions. Sister Kai, you're muted again. Sister Kai, you're muted again.
Yeah. Thank you, Ty. Do you need to get into the institution to fight the institution more effectively, or do you feel that you'd be more effective outside of the institution?
I feel like you're more effective outside of the institution, because even if you go inside the institution, you're still taking in their training there. You're still influenced by other people that probably do not have the same mindset as you, and you could probably be like basically like brainwashed. Like you could start seeing your own people as an enemies. You could start like character profiling and stuff like that. So I personally don't think there's any point of going into the system to try change the system. I think you should just create your own schools, create your own basically.
Any other comment? Munya?
Yeah, well, I partially agree and partially
The voice a bit,
disagree with
please.
what Mtata said. I partially agree, but partially disagree with what Mtata said. Because I think that yeah, we should create our own schools and create our own shops and stuff. But before we can do that, because that's going to take a long time, we obviously have to get into our institutions, whilst we're into other people, other people's institutions, so we can change it. And I think as long as you have a strong enough mind, you can just keep going until you get to the top. And once you're at the top, then you can change anything and everything. Yeah.
Thank you, Monia, for those comments. Anybody else want to? I mean, Materta and Monia had they agreed in principle. I think all of them so far have agreed in principle that we need our own institutions. But Monia had said, well, we need to also get involved in their institutions to make some of those changes. Right, we're listening.
Oh, sorry.
Are you saying?
No, I was gonna say, currently, as it stands, their institutions are failing right now. It's designed that way for their, for the economy to collapse and for certain things to happen. So, like, as it stands, I don't think there's a point in trying to involve ourselves in the institution, because, like Matata said, you can be brainwashed, and there's certain restrictions, certain things you can't say, and you might be outnumbered by a lot of people. They may not think the same way as you think. So it is definitely effective to be outside of the institution, to show people that there's something different. But I do, at the same time, because of the way Parliament is set up and how we have a representative democracy, if the system wasn't failing as it is now, then we would need people like us that think like us. We would want them in government, if that makes sense. So I think it kind of goes two ways, but as it stands currently, I think it's more effective to be outside of the institution.
Some people say it's impossible then to change the institution if you're outside.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when they're writing up their policies, you're not there. You're not at the table.
I understand that, but because, like I said, those government systems and things like that are being broken down on purpose right now. As it stands, there is not really a point, and they're never going to do anything in our favor because it is their system. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It would do a disservice to them for them to do the things that we need them to do, if that makes sense. Their whole system would have to collapse, which it is now, for us to be able to reach where we need to reach, because I know people believe in this, but currently we are in a type of matrix, and it takes for the matrix to be broken down for the people to actually succeed and get out of it. So we can't then try yeah, let me just not go into a ramble, but yeah, Kennedy.
Yeah, I think that definitely the main focus should be building our own institutions, because I think there's been examples of us trying to get into their institutions. There are black teachers, and there was a black woman in Parliament, if I remember correctly. And there has been there has been instances where we have got into their their institutions, but it hasn't really done much to change the circumstances that we're in. So I think the main thing that we need to focus on is building our own schools, our own ways. Before we can even think about changing the whole system, we need to build within ourselves and organize and galvanize within ourselves.
Okay, well, I mean, some people say the reasons why we're not making the changes, because some of the things that we need to do, we're not doing, like voting. We don't vote enough. And we don't do strategic voting. So we're not going to get the people in that we want to represent us because we're not voting. Maya, you got your hands there. Go ahead. Unmute.
The way in which the system is set up, we have first past the post. So a lot of our votes the votes that are not voted for the two main parties, whether it be Labour or Conservative, are wasted. So trying to vote outside of the norm and trying to vote for representatives that you feel would represent you it doesn't get accounted for. They're not represented in Parliament. So with this current electoral system that we have, it's not conducive.
Yeah,
to that.
like Maya said, when we do vote, like if we vote for either, they're not really gonna serve our needs. They're not gonna, whichever one we vote for, like Maya said, we're not gonna get to where we need to get to. So there's not really much of a point in voting, but we can build for ourselves. Like I feel like sometimes Black people think that we need to be with white people to build for ourselves, but we don't need them to get to where we need to be. We can build for ourselves. We can make it up. We can do for ourselves because we are capable of doing it ourselves. We don't really need to be in there.
So what you're basically saying is that fundamentally we need our own institutions. But some people say that's totally unrealistic because most of our children are in the mainstream schools, and we're not going to change that overnight, with the best will in the world. So do we get involved in those? Do we become teachers, or do we just leave our children in those schools to perish?
I mean, nothing happens overnight. Nothing happens overnight. So we can't expect it to happen overnight. But if we don't build at all, it's never going to happen.
But I think, again, we are kind of, I don't know, I feel like I have a totally different viewpoint to a lot of people. But currently, like I keep saying, I feel like we're holding on too much to the other years. Like 2020 isn't like any other year we've experienced so far. And in terms of, the school system and because of how the government has responded to COVID, a lot of people are thinking about homeschooling because they can see the negligence of the government. For example, didn't they stop free school meals for children? I think that is just so what's the word? I don't even know a word to describe it. It's disgusting, to be honest, because they say they're trying to look after us in terms of COVID and put all these regulations and rules in place, but there's no support for people that don't have enough money to make sure that their children can get meals or stuff like that. So by stopping the school meals is a clear representation to people that we can't trust the government, we can't trust their policies. So a lot of people are going to turn to homeschooling.
Yeah, I think it's just about jumping in, to be honest. Like there has been, even within our own Alkebu-Lan Institute, there's been Saturday school and a day school. It's about putting your child in the school. Like it's about having faith and trust in the community to take care and look after and teach your child. So yeah.
Oh, can I just say, I do, in terms of like, because you said like your child is in the system and are you just going to leave them there, etc., etc. I do feel like you can go into the system, or you need to have a bigger plan. Take a couple tips, take whatever, and apply it to your own life to start your own organization and start your own thing, basically. So I could say, yes, you can go into a short time, maybe a year, 2 years, take whatever you need and dip, basically. So yeah.
If we think about what's going to happen, sorry.
Go ahead, finish your point.
Can you hear me? Am I lagging? Oh, yeah, sorry. If you think about like currently, I don't feel like the government is aiming for the next few years of our education to run smoothly, because they're looking as if they want to put us on a second lockdown. The first lockdown already disrupted a lot of education and a lot of people's jobs. Everything just went upside down since the lockdown. And then their plan isn't really to continue with the normal well-being of people. So in terms of like education, jobs, money, all of that, they're looking to scrap that. You can tell by the way they're baby stepping towards the lockdown. You can tell that by the restrictions they're putting. For example, in Wales, they covered up non-essential items like clothes and like pots and pans and things like that. So you can tell they're planning for something much bigger. So it's more of a case of education, and all of those institutions which they built up are not going to exist the same way they did before. You can tell by the way they're putting these restrictions in place. So
okay. If there's anybody in the chat that would like to ask some questions, you can. There's a link. Should be a link now in the chat. I can't see it at the moment. Let me see if I can do something. But there should be a link in the chat where you can. Let me see, where is it? Okay, well, all right. There is no link in the chat. I'm looking now. I thought there was supposed to be a link in. All right, join. There it is. The link. Join the conversation. We're coming to the end. We're gonna give it another 10 minutes. I know in the group it did say on the flyer it said 6 to 9, but it really was supposed to be 6 to 8. But so I don't think anybody feels overly put out. But there's a link if you want to join the conversation. Please just click on the link and make your comments, ask your questions. I can see somebody here. I'm not sure. Is that one of ours? Is that Cassandra? Is that somebody joining the conversation? You need to probably enable your mic. I'm not sure. Is that Cassandra? Who's that? Saherta. Okay. Would you like to join the conversation, my sister?
I'm listening in.
Okay. Okay. All right then. All right. Does anybody want to ask a question, make a comment? All right. Okay, let's just touch very briefly on systems being broken down in order to bring in the new world order. Okay, that's from Ms. Henry. Sankofa Rising says, listening to these young people, from Auntie Ayana, listening to these young people make me feel that we have a future. Nick Sports has joined us. Does Nick Sports want to say anything? Tenamori?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah. I was tuned in earlier and I had to tune back out because I was filming, so I've just tuned back in. I'm not sure if it's been covered. I know when I joined back, you were talking about like voting and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we're just finishing that. Yeah, we want to know whether we should vote, whether we should be involved in the system, throw our whole selves in, turn it around,
well,
come up with something new.
The way I see it, that's been, something that has been spoken about for years, really, when it obviously usually around election time and that kind of thing. And I think we obviously do get caught up too much in this whole voting thing, siding with Labour over Conservative, or if it's America, it will be Democrats or Republicans and that kind of thing. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but Malcolm X has a good analogy and discussion about the nature of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, which can be really it's a crossover and can be compared to the Labour Party and the Conservatives over here in terms of whether we can trust them or not. And the way I see it from the things that I've read and watched, people like Umar Johnson and others, I think Claude Anderson's one who speaks about it in terms of when we should vote or in what circumstance we should vote. And I think voting for Black people or any minority people in the community should only be done as a collective. Voting as individuals to say, I'm a Labour, so I'm going to vote for Labour, it holds no weight, because you give them your vote for free. They haven't really offered or shown that they're going to do anything to benefit you or your community. And now they get into power. It's like, well, I'm in power. I didn't promise you anything. I'm going to do what I want to do anyway. The only way that we can use the voting system to benefit us is to basically sell our vote as a collective. So it might come under, we've tried to start something called the National African People's Parliament, but it will come under a collective to say, well, you know what? You go to an MP and say, we will give you a guaranteed 1,000 votes, 2,000 votes, depending on how much people you got in your community, if you can give us, or give us X, Y, Z if you get into power. And basically you sell your vote to the highest bidder. And that's what a lot of other communities do. They go to their MPs and their the local constituencies and sell their vote to the highest bidder. And when that person gets in power, that obviously we know the system is there to benefit white supremacy, but other communities and other groups who are not white people are benefiting more from the system than we are, because they are united in using their voting power. We tend to vote as individuals and hope that the person in power is going to do something to benefit us. So for me, voting is not going to save us, but if we want, the voting system exists. So if we want to benefit from it, we have to find the best means of benefiting from it. And for me, that is voting as a collective, for a purpose, as opposed to just voting willy-nilly to Labour or Democrats if you're in America.
Okay, give thanks, Brother Nika. Any of you want to say anything on that? Collective voting. Do you agree, disagree? Go ahead, Matata.
Collective voting. I'm not really sure, to be quite honest with you, because even though Labour is meant to be like the most relatable to the Black community, they haven't really done much. So I feel like you have to get MPs or people that are with the same mindset as you, that want better for Black people in this type of party. So I don't know if collective voting works unless you have those people in those positions to do what you want them to do.
Okay. Any other comments? Munya?
I think collective voting is a good idea, but I'm not quite sure if we will be able to unite as a people enough to trust ourselves to vote as a collective. I feel like once the time comes, people will say, "Oh, I feel like we're doing this we're voting for the wrong person." I feel like he has the other person has said one thing about Black people, and we just suddenly decide, "Oh, he's probably going to live up to that," and then we go to the one person. And I feel like we need to come together collectively more, so we can trust each other to make the right decision. Because I don't think we have the facilities to all collect our votes together. But yeah, that's just
Tenamori. I think what Brother Nika was saying, Nick Sports, that we need to do that as we need to set up institutions like the National African People's Parliament for that to happen. It's not gonna just happen like that. Any other comments on that? You got any views on that? Ty, Jordan? Would you vote? Do you? I mean, you're not there yet. Well, actually, yeah, two of you can vote technically. Is voting gonna, solve our problems?
I would say,
I think voting definitely would help, because when you look at the statistics after any vote has happened, it's always, whenever you look at the statistics for votes, it's almost the majority is always in outside London, because London is the most multicultural part of England. So it's kind of like we have to vote to be heard, because if we leave it to the other cities, then there's not a lot of ethnic diversity out there. So it's going to be pretty, they're all going to vote the same thing. So I think voting is really important for us.
Collective voting, or should we just go and just vote? Should we sell our votes?
No, collective voting, because it will ensure that more.
I'm in two minds when it comes to voting, because I feel like it doesn't really do much. Like the person, whoever we vote for, Labour or Conservative, it doesn't really do much like to help us as a community. But at the same time, when you look at the benefits of Labour and Conservative, I think Labour is the better party to be in power. So I'm in two minds about voting, to be honest.
Okay. Ty, were you going to say something?
I would say that I think someone else said it before as well. Even if we all voted for the same person, like we don't have anyone that we want in those positions to vote for. So we don't have any possible prime ministers and things like that. We don't have many to basically we don't have many to choose from in terms of who we would like to vote for. So even though collective voting would help us get more votes for a certain person, we don't have a good enough person for that certain person to vote for. So it would be more of an issue of getting someone that we want to vote for into a position where we can vote for them.
Any other comments on that? Anybody in the chat would like to join the discussion? The link is now in the group. You can click on, ask a question, make a comment before we come to our close. Our young people have been brilliant this evening. I'm sure you all agree. It's so nice to hear their comments and their views. They're so articulate. You know, you can see that they're thinking about these issues. It's important to them. Is there anything you'd like to say to them? I think you've had a lot of beautiful commendations. We have Sankofa Rising, Tenamrai. Would you like to make a comment? Tenamrai.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Firstly, I'd like to rise up all the young people on the panel. They are doing absolutely fantastic and a beautiful representation of us as a people. My main question was, and rise up all their parents and everybody who's involved in their village, getting them to this point so far as well also. And with that said, my question is, how has being raised, I'm assuming you've all been raised, being exposed to your culture and an understanding of who you are as African children in the world, how has that impacted who you are, and how has that impacted who you are and in the spaces that you are in the institutions, whether it be school, college, university, when you see that difference amongst your peers, you know, where you have a difference of opinion, do you feel empowered by that? And are you able to use it as a tool in your everyday living? Does that make sense? Does that make sense, everyone? Yeah, no?
Yeah, it looks like I've got some head shaking. So,
okay.
Who would like to, thank you for your question, Sister Nahanda. Who would like to answer that? How being raised in your particular environment, how do you think that has impacted on you being able to deal with and cope with the institutions that you're presently in? What kind of effect do you think it has had on you? Positive, negative?
Well, I think it's been a very positive influence. I know because I was raised in a movement, born and raised in a movement, I know things that other people in my school or in my environment don't know. And I think that it can be very helpful when you have to listen to what the teacher says. But you know, like, for example, I'm doing GCSE history, and there are certain things that they say in GCSE history which I know for certain aren't true. And I can just know in my head that what the teacher's telling me isn't true. And I can know and understand that because of the things I was taught in that community I was raised in.
Tenamrai. Any other comments?
Definitely helps to, like, when you go out, if you're experiencing, not just if you're experiencing racism, but just in your every single day life, if you're working, if you're in school, definitely knowing yourself, knowing your culture. Don't let anyone say anything to you. Knowing that helps you in life. That has a really strong sense of knowing yourself and your culture. It definitely helps in the workspace, in the classroom. Yeah.
Tana Murray, give thanks.
I just want to agree with Kennedy. It's definitely impacted on my sense of self and my like how in touch I am with my culture. It also makes me very confident. So I'm in an environment that I'm not very used to. So I have to be very outspoken and speak my views, because if I don't, then people are just going to trample all over me. So that definitely helps. And when certain things are raised and etc., I feel like I've taught my flatmates to be very sympathetic in certain situations, because just because they haven't seen or experienced certain things doesn't mean that they know it all, if that makes sense. So I've learned things about my history, etc., but I know that other people haven't. So I have some type of sympathy towards them, and I try to be as nice as possible when discussing certain things. So I try to teach them that as well. So yeah.
Give thanks for that. Ty, I know that if you're still in or you've been through Manhood Academy, how do you feel that has helped you?
Yeah, I'd say that definitely helps, because when you're in a situation where like other people have opinions that you don't necessarily agree with, or opinions that you know better, and like, for example, in history and things like that, where that a certain situation didn't go a certain way, it helps that it gives you an advantage when you know exactly what happens. You can educate others, or even just for yourself, that even if they're teaching you one way, what really happens. So I think that always gives you the advantage when it comes to certain things.
Okay, that's good. So we're saying that basically having a foundation, being in an organization or institutions that are teaching you to love yourself, to have a positive self-awareness has been a good foundation in taking you thus far in being able to navigate the institutions that you are in presently. Is that what you're saying? It's been a good experience. And would you advise parents to get their children involved in things like Saturday schools? I think all of you probably been through a Saturday school or one or two. Or Manhood Academy, other institutions like alternative to the mainstream, like Manhood Academy, Women's Academy. There are a number of different programs out there. What's the other ones? I Know I Can, and 100 Black Men of London. The number of programs that are out there. Would you advise parents to join these institutions? To get their children to be part of these institutions or these organizations?
I think that is, if you go to mainstream school, then I think that's almost necessary, because there's certain things that within mainstream school that they don't teach you that they do in other Saturday schools and other education, like Manhood Academy or Westside Young Leaders and things like that. And you can learn much more valuable, not much more, but just as valuable skills from them as you would from mainstream school, and you can learn much more as well. And I would say that if you're going to go to mainstream school, then it's very valuable for you in life to go to outside Saturday schools as well.
Okay. Give thanks.
Sorry, can I just
yeah, go ahead.
Add to my question. Well, thank you again for the fantastic answers. But adding to your question, sorry, and what the young prince has said, could each one give some of the different experiences and the good times, the fun that he's had, because you are still children, even though you've been discussing some very serious topics today and been very serious, but what are, you still, I'm hoping you still had childhoods, you still had fun and good times, and what is, give a time of fun, if that makes sense, or Kwanzaa. I don't know if you have all celebrated Kwanzaa in your time. What are the fun experiences that you have been raised from a rooted cultural perspective?
Well, for me, it was definitely summer school. So yeah, summer school, doing the radio, doing everything, going to different events, etc., etc. Yeah,
the Africa team
was definitely the highlights of my childhood. Definitely summer school. So yeah,
that's the Alkebu-Lan revivalist movement, summer school. Okay, I remember Matata with a little shy self. Anybody else? We're gonna have to get this wrapped up very quickly. Anybody else? Any fun times? Any key things? Kwanzaa, Africa Liberation Day.
Definitely, like what Matata was saying, like stuff like AOD, Saturday school, African Liberation Day, yes, Saturday school, all of those type of events really were. We had some great times there. A lot of fun there. So
I mean, some of your friendships, I mean, there's 3 of you in a home together. Some of your friendships came together at these same institutions. I think probably one of them, you knew each other before that, but most of you, I guess, is through these different institutions, like Seba Amasu's chess club. Now he's also running African philosophy. Some of you have met in those institutions. I'm not sure, but I think your one is frozen up there. Auntie Anne says, tell them, well done, I'm proud of them all. Yay. They are the future. That's from Ms. Henry. Okay, right. So I'm going to really wrap it up here. Young people, we've kind of gone, well, I won't say we've gone over time, but everybody expects us to finish at 9. But we just started a little bit late. We had some technical problems, so we do apologize for that, brothers and sisters. But thank you for tuning in. I'm going to have some closing words from our young people, each one of you. Just say to the gathering that are tuned in today, what do you think they should do? Oh, don't disappear on us, Muniraji. And Kasensa, you can come back. We love you. Come back. Can you just tell the gathering, your parents, and maybe some young people are listening, what's the one thing you would like to leave them with from this discussion? Floor's open. Anybody can go first. Second, third, fourth.
Oh, okay, I'll start. I just want to thank Auntie Kai for this opportunity to be on this panel. I would also like to leave with young people everything. Actually, Auntie Hannah's been telling me this for years, and I've only just realized it. But like everything you do, always have your culture like in your that's the first thing you should always look at. If you need anything, go back to your culture. Always like
as your reference point.
As your reference point, always go back to your anything you literally do. Always go back to your culture, and read as well. I would definitely advise to read. So yeah.
Thank you. Right, that's a good start. Anybody else want to join?
I would just like to say to all the young people out there, I recommend you join the movement quickly so you can learn so much stuff. Yeah.
The Alkebu-Lan revivalist movement by any means? Any chance?
Yeah, Alkebu-Lan revivalist movement. Yeah.
Of course. Don't worry. Okay, thanks for that, Munya. Come on, who's next? Gonna wrap it up?
I would say that I just hope that everyone's learned something, and thank you, Sister Kai, for the opportunity to be here as well. And I just say that everyone that has been listening, make sure that you take something with you. Like, make sure that you remember lots of the things that have been said, because I'd say that most of it's been quite valuable. Yeah, even to me as well.
Okay, thank you, Prince Tai. Okay, young ladies, who's gonna start?
What do you mean?
Tanamai, I think just to educate yourself, stay current on the times, and yeah, just make sure you educate yourself. And like Matata said, read. They're not going to teach us, so we're going to have to teach ourselves.
Just following up on what Lady said, educate yourself and remember who you are, because we're all going into different forms of education, and it can be difficult to keep sight of remember yourself and where you come from.
Okay, thanks for that as well. Right, let's move on. One more. What would you like to share, Princess Jordan? You need to turn that. Okay, what's happened to her? What's happened to? Oh, there she is.
Right. I think.
Last words. What are you going to say?
What's happening?
All right, Princess Jordan, we just want to hear from you. What do you think? What would you like to leave with the young people that may be listening, and the parents? What's the last thing you'd like to leave with them?
I think just to keep on pushing the Black Lives Matter movement and trying to educate the younger generation.
Okay. All right.
Take it off from
Okay, thank you, Princess Jordan. That's everyone. Okay, because Sensei wasn't able to come back, but we know that she's there. Okay, I'm gonna say Tatenda that's thank you, Medase Papa. Thank you very, very much, and Chui, for joining us this Eshe in Yoruba. That's what Saturday school is teaching now, Yoruba. In joining this platform today and really giving our community some hope, lifting the spirits. God, that's why the comments alone, people just feel happy, they feel empowered, they felt really good by just listening to you. And you get so much negativism about young people in the media. So when we create a platform for our young people to share their views, I'm so pleased that you were able to join us and give an insight into the things that are important to you and how they affect you and how you'd like to see things change. I'd like to thank your parents for organizing it to make it possible for you to be here today, because you didn't come here by yourself. So I've got to thank your parents, your guardians, for making that possible. And I'd also like to send my thanks to the politics department for enabling this, the technical side of things, the education department for organizing this this particular session, and the Alkebu-Lan family, the spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan revivalist movement, Brother Leader Bandaka, for being an inspiration to all of us in making these sessions and like this, and all the years that he has put into, even say raising his children. You all came into the movement, not all of you, obviously, most of you came into the movement. You probably were 6 or 7 or something like that, 5, 6 or 7. And to see you here now, articulate, confident, culturally aware, culturally proud, is very uplifting to him and other members here. So we give thanks for that. Sisters and brothers, this has been Africa Teen Talk. Africa Teen Talk has been a part of the institution of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement for a very long time. Matertat mentioned it going on the radio. And we had Africa Teen Talk on Voice of Africa Radio years ago, 10 years ago, I don't even know, 20, probably 15 years ago. And we had Africa Teen Talk where the young people would come together like this and sharing their views. They would put together discussion points. They would interview each other. This time they were like, the oldest one probably was about 14 and the rest of them were like 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. They'd ask each other questions. They'd create their own little panel. They'd do a little reading. Some of them would tell the news. Do you remember? It was good stuff. We'd like to do that again. We haven't done that for a long time, but we'd like to offer the young people that again, to actually, they had their own radio program called Africa Teen Talk. I think all of them have had the opportunity to be on it. And so this is a product of Africa Teen Talk, the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist Movement, the Alkebu-Lan Academy of Excellence, Ma'at Academy. You know, we need to build our institutions. That's what it shows, brothers and sisters, here today. We need to build our institutions. I mean, most of them have spoken about having independent institutions, African institutions. They feel from being part of those institutions that is what we need if we're going to really move forward as a people. Yes, we have to, in the meantime, we are going to be part of other people's institutions, and we've got to make sure that we make an impact when we're there. But our main goal should be to build our own institutions, our own platforms, just like Alkebu-Lan Way, Got Caution, all the other platforms that we do have in our community to educate us, whether adults or children. And so we give thanks for you coming and joining this platform today. Please enjoy the rest of African History Month. Our last program is going to be this Saturday, this Imani Day, and 7 till 9, and that it will be, we will be interviewing Sister Venrisha of Natural Hair Loving, who has nearly 200,000 people on her Instagram page following her. That shows how important this whole issue of natural hair is. And others, we'll be joined by others, and we'll be discussing, the discussion will be, I am not my hair, or am I? It'd be nice to see some of the young people that are here today on that discussion as well. I am not my hair, or am I? And we're going to hear that's going to be a hot debate, you know. It's going to be a hot debate. So join us on Saturday. That will be our last program for the month on the 31st. It's been a brilliant Black History Month. We've just been hearing from our elders, from our educationalists, or those on the front line, you know, dealing with all the different subject matters. It's been really, really great. We've been hearing from our young people. We've had programs for our little children, for under 5s, for our teenagers, and now we've been hearing from our young people, very important crop of young people, because you're going to take this movement forward one way or the other. So we close with our closing words. If we place our left hand on our heart and raise our right hand, let us remind ourselves to take from here all that we've learned, all that we've gained in knowledge, information, and inspiration out into the streets, into our personal lives, amongst our families and friends, our places of work, our places of study, wherever we are. Let us remind ourselves to be a shining light unto Africans everywhere. Let Africans everywhere know that Mwari, Oladumare, Nkulukulu, Nodume, Sodume, Ama, Eshe, Nobokuane, the African God, reigns supreme. Let Africans everywhere know that it is a joy to be an African. Let Africans everywhere know that liberation is indeed at hand. Tendai Mwari. Tendai Mwari. Let me just see, guys.